Hi there, it's Monday the 27th of July 2020 and this week we're going to look at how to deal with worry. How to deal with worry. And the dictionary says that worry is a cause of uneasiness or anxiety. And to worry is to torment oneself with or suffer from disturbing thoughts. To torment oneself with or suffer from disturbing thoughts. I don't know how often you worry or how big your worries are. How does worry affect you? And what is it you actually worry about? I think all of us probably suffer from worry or anxiety at some point in our lives, some of us more than others. And some people suffer from anxiety disorder where they cannot seem to stop worrying. So all of us have to learn how to deal with worry in our lives. The Apostle Paul in the Bible was also somebody who had much that he could worry about. And it's interesting to see how he dealt with worry. You know, around 50 AD, Paul visited a town called Philippi for the first time. And there a church began in this town called Philippi. And some years later he visited it again a couple of times, and then in about 60 AD Paul was coming towards the end of his life and he was imprisoned in Rome because he had been sharing the gospel message, the good message about Jesus, and he was under house arrest. And while he was there he was not allowed to preach, but he was allowed to write letters, and he wrote 4 letters to 4 of the different churches that he had contact with. And one of those was Philippi. And possibly it was his favourite church. He seems to speak about it with great love and affection. And so he wrote to his friends in the church in Philippi. And that's where we get the letter Philippians from in the New Testament. And Paul was somebody who knew what it was to worry. He had plenty to worry about. He had his imprisonment, for example, as a start. And in the very first chapter of his letter, he talks about being in chains for the gospel. And then he goes on to say that he did not know what his future was going to be. He did not know whether he was going to live or die. And yet he said this amazing verse in verse 21 of chapter 1. He says, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." He didn't know whether he was going to live or die, but he looked upon his life and his death both as something which would bring glory to God. And that probably helped him not to worry. So how did Paul deal with his worry? Well, the first thing that he says is to pray to God. Later on in the book of Philippians he says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Do not be anxious about anything, or do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Maybe you say, well, I've prayed about those things that I'm worried about, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. I still worry about them. I still find myself not sleeping at nights or thinking about them at idle moments during the day. It just comes into my mind over and over again. But it's interesting the way that Paul prayed here. He prayed with prayer and petition. Now, a petition is something that you would bring to perhaps somebody in authority, or to the school. You might want to petition them if you were a youngster because you don't want to wear school uniform, and you get a petition up with everybody signing it, and you go to the authority with this petition, or you go to the government with a petition. And Paul is saying he's going to the highest authority in the world, in the universe, which is God himself, with a petition. And his petition is full of his worry and his care. He's saying, here are, O God, are the things that I am worried about, that I am concerned about, and I am petitioning you to do something about it. And so he actually brings it to God. Interesting, he uses the word petition. Often petitions are written down. Perhaps Paul wrote down his worries, his concerns. I wonder if you've ever done that, to write down all the things that are worrying you, that you are caring deeply about, that are causing you to lose sleep at night, and bring that sheet before God and pray to God and say, God, I cast all my worries and all my cares onto you. I bring this petition to you to ask you as the authority to do something about all these situations that I am worried about. And then he goes on to say, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. With thanksgiving. He's coming thanking God that God will hear him, thanking God for the good things in his life, not filling his mind just with all his cares and worries. When you come and pray about your cares and worries, make sure that in amongst all of that, you're thanking God for the good things. And it helps to bring balance and perspective and put your cares and worries in perspective. So the first lesson to learn about how to deal with your worry is to pray with petition and thanksgiving to God. And we'll continue to look tomorrow at how else we can deal with our worries. God bless you.